Hey guys, it's Cairo, and I am here to talk about a really huge issue that doesn't get nearly as much respect as it deserves, and that is gender dysphoria. If you don't know what that is, it's defined as the condition of feeling one's emotional and psychological identity as male or female to be the opposite of one's biological sex. The reason that I don't think that's really a fair definition is because it doesn't necessarily have to be the opposite. There are many gender identities, all of which should be respected. There are some weirder ones that people identify as different species or whatever. I'm not here to judge, so I'm not really going to touch on that. Personally, I identify as genderqueer or agender, and I haven't really figured that out. So the way that kind of works for me is that I'll look in the mirror and I'll just dress like somebody who I would want to look at, because I can't really change myself to look like genderqueer. I just have to kind of dress the part. So that's what I do to my best abilities. So this issue is really, really important, and people don't seem to be understanding how important it is or respecting it or thinking it's that big of a deal. But you meet someone and you look at them and you think maybe that's a normal person, and they're like, I'm suffering through this dysphoria. You're like, yeah, but they look like they're fine and they act like they're fine, because what choice do they have? You can't just go get a sex change. It seems like it's that easy, but it's not. You have to go through so many things. Certain people can't even get sex changes because of medical conditions. Certain genders can't even change to what they identify as, so they feel this horrible dysphoria. And the worst part about it is that you can talk to as many people as you want, and half of them won't accept it. They just will ignore it and think it's stupid or whatever, because you can't understand it. I can't explain to somebody, well, I feel like I'm genderqueer. A lot of the time I hear, okay, you're male or you're female, choose one. And some people are like, you can't choose. You're always going to be female if you were born female. You're always going to be male if you're born female. And that's rude, and I'm not even going to touch on that. But seriously, gender dysphoria needs to be taken seriously. If you or a loved one experiences gender dysphoria, they need to really be supportive, support yourself, support everybody, because this is a serious issue, and I can't accurately explain what it's like for everybody else, but for me, I look in the mirror sometimes and I look at my body and I look at myself and I say, that's a beautiful girl, but that girl isn't me. And I feel so wrong being in this body, and I feel just awful. I don't feel like the weird, I guess, agender type person that I feel like inside, and it's like wearing somebody else's skin in the most uncomfortable way. It's like being covered in like a wet blanket that you can't get off, but it's freezing outside, and nobody is willing to help you warm up. And it is so painful. And you know what's more painful than that is going up to people and saying, hey, this is how I feel. Is there any way that you can help? And having them say, no, or it's just a phase, or I can't understand what you're going through, so I can't be supportive. And hearing about my friends talking to their loved ones and saying, hey, I feel like a girl trapped in a boy's body, or a boy trapped in a girl's body, or any different combination of any gender terminology, etc., etc. And they're just not supportive. That hurts, especially when I hear about my friends changing for their significant others to make them more comfortable with their own gender identity. And I think that it's great to make sacrifices for your loved ones, because that's a big part of life, but sacrificing your identity and pushing down the most painful thing, more painful than probably being stabbed, it's just not okay. You're suffering through something that is life-changing. And your significant others and your loved ones should be able to support you through that, because it is so much emotional pain. If one of your loved ones had died, people would probably be there to support you. Or if you're going through some horrible sickness, your loved ones would be there to support you. But through gender dysphoria, the number of people who will not support the person who experiencing the dysphoria is obscene, and it's not okay. And I can't express that enough. I can't even get my wording correctly because of how upsetting it is. I am watching my friends being torn apart. Not just my friends, people I have never even met that, talk to me over the internet on a website called 7 Cups of Tea. I'll put a link in the description because that website has helped me so much, and I'm actually a listener on there. So this is for a place like people can go to where you can talk to just an anonymous person, and they will be there for you, and they will listen, and they will do what they can to make you feel better. And we're not claiming to be trained therapists. Some of us are, but we are just really here to help. And for like the past week, I've heard so many times of people feeling uncomfortable and actually hating themselves because of how they feel, because they feel like it's wrong. Like society says, no, you should not change genders, so we're not gonna support it. And the lack of support is seriously making people hurt themselves and hate themselves. And that's so wrong. And I don't understand how people can't see that. That's wrong. It's like getting caught in a fire when you're born and experiencing this awful scarring for the rest of your life. Because that's what it is. It's looking at yourself and it's like, this is not who I'm supposed to be. I'm looking at somebody that's just not me, that's been hurt, and that has been experiencing this trauma for most of my life because I don't feel like I am, in the right body. And I'm not saying that anybody should kind of settle for anything or change their viewpoints just to support one person in their life. I'm saying that people should think of it, try to see it from their perspective, even if it's really difficult, because it is so awful. It's so awful. Imagine if, however you identify, if you're cis male, cis female, think about if you were the opposite. Or think of if you were somewhere in between. And maybe you can understand, and that's okay, but this is not something to be messed with. This is a serious issue, and it should be taken seriously. And I'm sorry if this video made no sense and I trailed off, but I am really, really serious because this issue is huge. And I am so sick of watching my friends suffer so much because the people around them are not supportive. So you don't have to agree, but be a good person and be supportive of your friends, of your significant others, of your families. Like, seriously, it's that simple. So I'm sorry for that insane rant and probably repeating myself like 25 times, but I can't express how upsetting this is, and hopefully you understand, and hopefully you can be supportive. So if you made it to this part of the video, thank you. Feel free to share your opinions with me. I would love to hear them. And if you ever need somebody to talk to, 7 Cups of Tea is free. And you just go on and you say what you're feeling or what your problem is, and somebody will be there to help you and comfort you. Thank you so much, and just thank you for listening. And please, please just try to be more accepting.